By the time the CDC's webpage was updated to warn of inflammation of the heart, 313 million doses were administered to 173 million people. The vaccines, by honest accounting, were pathetically tested. Pre-EUA, no drug-drug interaction study, no cardiovascular toxicity, central nervous system toxicity, other organ toxicity, blood toxicity, genotoxicity, carcinogenicity. Had they actually turned out to be safe, it would have been serendipitous, a happy accident. This isn't a blind spot. The FDA was completely blind to adverse events, and the CDC wasn't even looking. During the largest pharmaceutical rollout in human history, pharmacovigilance did not exist. That is the betrayal of our time, so vast that we cannot even count its casualties.
Thank you, Dr. Wiseman. Our next witness is Dr. Karl Jablanowski. Dr. Jablanowski is the Director of Science and Research at Children's Health Defense. He holds a master's degree in computer science from the University of Chicago and a PhD in biomedical and health informatics from the University of Washington School of Medicine. His research focuses on bringing about an end to childhood health epidemics. Dr. Jablanowski.
Thank you, Chairman. Pharmacovigilance is absolutely necessary. Our knowledge is limited, even of a vaccine that passes clinical trials of a few thousand very healthy people. We simply do not know what adverse events look like in a diverse, large population until they're administered to a diverse, large population. We had better be watching very closely, which is pharmacovigilance. The vaccines, by honest accounting, were pathetically tested. Pre-EUA, no drug-drug interaction study, no cardiovascular toxicity, central nervous system toxicity, other organ toxicity, blood toxicity, genotoxicity, carcinogenicity. Had they actually turned out to be safe, it would have been serendipitous, a happy accident. Luck is not a pillar of public health. Pharmacovigilance behind closed doors should give everyone pause. It is simply too important to not do it correctly. Lapses can be and were catastrophic. The vigilance heavily depends on three sources of data: the passive surveillance of VAERS, the active surveillance of vSafe, and the VSD, an active system linked to medical records. vSafe was designed to collect inconsequential data. One of the first papers to publish it was a mortality and adverse event study. The only figure in the entire paper was a time series comparison for both Moderna and Pfizer, for both dose 1 and dose 2 of adverse events no one cares about: injection site pain, fatigue, headache, myalgia, chills, and joint pain. Dr. Renata Engler is distinguished in the study of vaccine-induced myocarditis among U.S. military with 4 publications on the smallpox vaccine. On the CDC not including myocarditis in vSafe, she asked, "If you do not ask, you will not see it. But does that mean it does not exist?" Within 50 days of that meeting, Dr. Engler would start adding 4 more publications on COVID-19 vaccine-associated myocarditis. The CDC already had in hand Israel's slides. The vSafe system had 10 million volunteers. About 1/3 entered free text. Perhaps there is some horror found in the 366 individuals who typed in myocarditis, a condition requiring medical diagnosis. That is amplified by the nearly 50,000 people who typed in chest pain. The Vaccine Safety Data Link is a collection of 13 healthcare organizations covering 15.5 million people. It can detect safety issues within a few weeks. Most frequently used is rapid cycle analysis, which can miss delayed onset events. Better and timely options, like the vaccinated versus unvaccinated or pre-post, is rarely used. And they would need the well-practiced extra step of considering differences in healthcare-seeking behavior.
A shocking congressional hearing is raising explosive new questions about COVID vaccine safety monitoring in the United States. Expert witnesses accused federal health agencies of ignoring warning signs, failing to detect serious adverse events, and allowing what they called a broken surveillance system to operate during the largest pharmaceutical rollout in human history. Tonight, we break down the most intense moments from that hearing. The testimony opened with a direct attack on how the vaccines were tested before emergency authorization. Witnesses argued critical safety studies were either limited or never fully completed, including long-term toxicity and interaction studies. One expert claimed regulators relied too heavily on hope instead of comprehensive monitoring, warning that public health agencies were unprepared for the scale of the rollout. Lawmakers then focused on the FDA and CDC's vaccine surveillance systems, questioning whether warning signs for serious complications were missed or ignored. A major topic was something called masking, where safety signals from one vaccine may be hidden because similar reports are grouped together in the same database. Witnesses testified that FDA statisticians were warned about this issue before and during the vaccine rollout. According to the hearing, internal experts allegedly proposed methods to improve detection systems, but those recommendations were never fully implemented. The claims triggered sharp criticism from lawmakers who argued the agencies failed to act quickly enough during a critical moment in public health history. If you're following major hearings like this and want more uncensored political coverage and breaking investigations, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
By the time the CDC's webpage was updated to warn of inflammation of the heart, 313 million doses were administered to 173 million people. I do not see vigilance at work. With VAERS, the CDC chose to ignore its own standard operating procedure and not run proportional reporting ratios in favor of the FDA's, what Walensky calls more robust and Shimabukuro calls the gold standard. VAERS had been grossly underreported for the first 30 years, maxing out at 58,000 reports. In its 31st year alone, VAERS logged 18 times that number. Because of this disproportionality, the FDA's disproportionality analysis was washed out. Since both vaccines were of the same platform and same adverse events, the comparison was muted. This isn't a blind spot. The FDA was completely blind to adverse events, and the CDC wasn't even looking. There was a savior in the ranks of the FDA who correctly identified the problem, appropriately worked with the inventor of EB data mining to create a solution, communicated the fix to everyone who would listen. The problem is, no one listened. Luck was not on our side. The CDC failed to look. The FDA failed to fix a broken system that the CDC touted as the gold standard. The HHS failed to protect us, especially after our freedom of choice was assaulted by the president threatening us all with, "Our patience is wearing thin." FOIA evasion was well practiced and discovered, obviously, not through a FOIA. Simply put, during the largest pharmaceutical rollout in human history, pharmacovigilance did not exist. That is the betrayal of our time, so vast that we cannot even count its casualties.
The hearing also examined the CDC's VSafe and VAERS monitoring systems. Critics argued the systems focused too heavily on mild symptoms while potentially overlooking more serious complications like myocarditis and chest pain reports. Witnesses pointed to growing concerns from doctors and researchers who said stronger follow-up investigations should have happened much earlier. One expert described the federal response as a catastrophic failure of pharmacovigilance, the process used to detect and evaluate vaccine side effects after approval. Perhaps the strongest accusation came near the end of the hearing, when witnesses claimed federal agencies ignored internal warnings and failed to communicate potential risks clearly to the public. They argued the breakdown damaged public trust not only in COVID vaccines, but in vaccine oversight overall. Supporters of the vaccine program maintain the shots saved millions of lives worldwide and say health agencies worked under extraordinary emergency conditions. But critics insist transparency and accountability are still urgently needed. This hearing is likely to fuel even more debate over government transparency, vaccine safety monitoring, and public trust in health institutions. Was this a necessary emergency response during a global crisis? Or a massive oversight failure that still hasn't been fully addressed? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and stay tuned for more major political hearings and investigations.